Hey everyone, welcome to Zero Sum Game. I'm your host Sohan, and this is also our other co-host Bora, one of the founders of Reacher here. For those of you who aren't familiar, what we do is we interview social commerce execs, business founders in e-commerce, and just break down the current strategies on what's working. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Reacher, we're an end-to-end creator matchmaking software helping you find, nurture, and gamify creator relationships so you can generate more revenue on TikTok Shop. We've generated over $500 million in revenue for our partners, working with some of the biggest brands and agencies like Goalie, Prime Bites, Triquetra Health, Flywheel Digital, Social Commerce Club. And today we have a special episode with both of our founders here, Bora and Jerry, at the same time. So I've interviewed Jerry on a previous episode. Bora and I have talked a bunch, but I'm super excited to get them both here and get both perspectives on what it took to really grow Reacher to the multi-million-dollar company it is today, the decisions along the way, and where you guys want to head next. So before we jump in, I'd love for each of you guys to give a quick background on either one of you, and just for the viewers who aren't familiar, just let them know who you are, how you came to the company that it is today, etc.
Yeah, we can get started with myself. I'm Bora, one of the co-founders of Reacher. Thank you, Sohan, for the introduction. There's a lot to get into in terms of the background. I guess I'll just talk about what I currently do for Reacher, and I'm sure you're gonna ask us a ton of questions about like how this all came to be. So I had the go-to-market side of the business. You know, that's customer success, customer support, sales, marketing, things like that. Do a lot of that work with Sohan, and also there's some crossover with Jerry as well. But yeah, I think that's a good brief introduction. I think Jerry, you can go ahead.
Okay, I'm the other co-founder. Less seen on camera here than usual, but very excited for this co-founder podcast today. But in brief, I handle the product side, design and engineering. But honestly, just like a few months, I would say before this, it was just me and Bora doing literally everything. It wasn't a clear division, and I think I'm happy to get to this place where we've matured and we can say like, oh, we handled this or that. But for the longest time, it felt like, we just do everything possible to grow. So, very excited.
Agreed. And I think that's why I'm excited to have you guys both on here, because both of you with your respective strengths and different perspectives can provide really cool insights on how Reacher got to the way that it is today, right? What decisions were made, maybe when you guys disagreed or agreed, how co-founders should handle each other's relationships and divide responsibilities here. There's a lot to get into. And then forward looking too, like having trust in your co-founder to handle their respective function, division of responsibilities, right? There's like so much we can get into. But I think first, what everyone's dying to know is like, how'd you guys like even come up with this idea? What was the birth of Reacher like?
Do you want us to get into the background of startups in general and why we did startups, or just specifically Reacher first?
Let's start with Reacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
My background is kind of like micro-influencer background. I, have a decent following across YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and, most recently TikTok as well. I've been making content for a very long time, albeit not very good content, but, I've been trying my best. I've been getting brand deals here and there. So I kind of approached the problem from the creator standpoint while Jerry was working at Instagram shopping for Meta. But essentially, we kind of stumbled across TikTok Shop after the failure of our last startup we were working on together. And, we felt that we had the unique insights that were needed, and we kind of recognized the problem that brands were facing and creators were facing on the platform. And we're like, why don't we just tackle this problem? But I'll let Jerry go into a little more detail on his side of things.
Yeah, the thing about the not enough followers thing, I remember I made fun of you on stage at YC Demo Day, and that got a good laugh. I was
like, chuckle at my expense.
I was like, this guy has he's an influencer, but nobody follows him.
And like 5 people were like, ha ha ha.
Yeah, dry humor. So for me, like Boris said, I was working at Instagram shopping. I was a data scientist on the team of IG Shop's FB marketplace, and I think it was an interesting time to be there because they were slowly sunsetting the commerce department of Facebook. Zuck used to always say like there are 6 priorities here at Meta, top ones being metaverse, AI, even privacy, and then the last one was always commerce. And I was like, why? And it's like it makes sense, right? There's a huge creator base on Instagram, and there's actually a huge creator base on Facebook, which we learned recently. but it's a natural platform for her to be on. But I think the incentives were aligned and execution was that the plan maybe was different. And so they actually shut down Instagram shops while I was there. It felt like our whole team was like, wait, the tab in Instagram is gone. What are we even working on here? You know, and surely enough, I got transitioned out.
Interesting.
But like the experience from working with brands and creators, looking at the data behind the scenes of, okay, creators are not making money, brands are not getting any GMV from the content, and they're just not getting sales. So no wonder this is not working. And so a lot of that insights still stayed with me when we started Reacher. And like Boris said, it was, you know, we had just failed 2 startups. We were looking for anything that we had an edge in, and actually came back to our roots. Like, okay, I was at Instagram shopping on the brand side. Bora is a micro influencer, but
It's on the micro influencer. Yeah.
You almost hated saying it.
Nano influencer. I'm just kidding.
This guy.
No, Bora has a collective of like what, 20,000?
I think it's
Followers
about
across?
15,000 now. Most of them on LinkedIn, surprisingly.
That's the best place to have them.
For B2B SaaS, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big,
Yeah, big LinkedIn influencer here. So essentially what ended up happening was we were like, okay, we looked into the TikTok shop idea of Reacher. We were like, this is actually, you know, to build an MVP of like a Python script that messages creators, it's a pretty basic MVP to build. Why don't we just try, and we have the background for this idea, why don't we just try to do something here? And that's essentially how the first messaging script was built.
Yeah, but
right?
I don't think we said this is going to be the idea. I think we specifically said, let's build and think of other ideas because it was 2 things, right? It was like, we were so sad after having failed for 2 years straight, put in a bunch of our own money, living together in a house in his girlfriend's parents' den that was dark and cramped. And we were just working all day. We were like, we need a way out, but this may not be the thing, right? Like, let's build to keep ourselves out of this depression, because I think at our hearts, it's like building keeps us going. And so let's build and think of other ideas. And that time we actually had a team of 5 and we were trying to involve them on this idea, but there wasn't much buy-in. I remember.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so the other 3 people left and we were like, okay, we really got to figure something out. And I think it was luck or whatever, but we had our first customer from, wasn't it Reddit?
Reddit, and it was an agency from the UK. It was from Reddit. It was called, he was Boundless, Alex from Boundless Media.
Shout out Alex.
Shout out Alex. Boundless Media.
Yeah.
He told us first about Fastmoss, about Calidata, about target collaborations, like all of this jargon for TikTok Shop. He was our first customer that we just happened, like in the early days, we were trying everything we could to find somebody to buy this product, right? Like Jerry was doing a majority of the coding of the actual script to run the software, right? To build the MVP of Reacher. I was building the infrastructure to run it on like Azure Cloud in like a really inefficient way on a VM. It was super ragtag. And then I was also trying to find somebody somewhere online that was interested in TikTok Shop and that was, needed this product, right? So we did Reddit. We went to TikTok Shop's website and they had like a list of agencies and people there that they partnered with, like whatever we could. And I just like searched them up on LinkedIn and just find ways to find their email or phone number, their WhatsApp number. So I remember I found this guy's agency's name on Reddit. And it was like a TikTok Shop thread. And it was like, oh, TikTok Shop, the new thing, like message creators. Here's like a solution to message creators, right? I think it was a competitor's post. And I found someone that was like, oh, I'm interested in this, replied to the post, to the OP. And then I found the guy's profile. I went to his profile. I found his name, Alex at Boundless Media. Then I searched up Alex at Boundless Media online. I found his email and his WhatsApp number and I just called him. And then he's like, yeah, mate, like I need this.
UK guy.
Yeah, UK guy. And then I was like, no way, this guy needs the and he's like, how much? And I was like, $250 or something, $249?
200.
Was it 200? Yeah, I was like, just like a number. I just like threw a number out there. He's like, okay. And boom, that was our first customer. And it was just like, I remember the feeling. Jerry and I got up and we just grabbed each other's hands and we just started jumping up and down.
Yeah, it's crazy because the last 2 companies, or the first company we worked on, 0 revenue. Like quite literally 0.
Yeah.
And then the second company we worked on, I think we had some revenue, but we were selling books essentially, which is not a recurring purchase, right? It's a book about your life. You're not going to do like 5 of them.
Totally.
And so I think we sold a few of those, and it was one-time revenue, and the costs for it were so crazy. It was like interviewing, writing the book, printing it, editing it, putting the pictures in. Like this one was $200 monthly recurring revenue, and for a script that I just wrote up, I was like, wait, I didn't really even spend any money to make it.
How long did it take since from you writing the script to like finding this customer and purchasing? Like, what was the amount of time it took to find this first customer?
It was in the span of weeks.
Few weeks.
Few weeks. And that was much faster than you guys had experienced some sort of value or feedback from the ideas you built previously, correct?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Interestingly, it sounds like you guys weren't that excited by the idea about TikTok Shop at the beginning. Like you guys were like, we're going to do this to make sure we have some money in our pockets, but keep building and finding something we're really excited about, right? Like how did it really start to like pick up momentum? Were you guys still giving the majority of your time towards other ideas or other things instead, or?
It's a good question. I think a lot of times we hear people guiding founders on like, do what you love, follow your passion. And I think in this case, it was not a passion when we started. We didn't even have TikTok on our phones. And that was the truth. I think we actually was like, TikTok is like for kids that want to scroll, and we're like cooler than that or something.
And my little brother.
We're cooler because we scroll YouTube. YouTube Reels is cooler. You know. And so I feel like in the beginning it was definitely looking at what our strengths are, which is we did have social commerce background, and second, where the opportunity was. I think where it really started picking up steam and where it turned from more of a mercenary to a mission-driven problem was we were helping brand owners like chase their dreams, right? Alex from Boundless, the first one, but after that came more brands where we actually got to know the owners. We had group chats with them. They were telling us like, man, just using Reacher, we found this many creators, posted videos. Like you guys helped us go from 0 to 6 figures a month. That was like incredibly fulfilling because we are entrepreneurs as well. We've failed multiple businesses, and to see our software help somebody else fulfill their dreams, that's where it became much more mission driven.
Interesting. So like walk me through that like impact that you guys had on like your, let's say your first 10 customers, right? You guys set up a Python script to message creators, right? Like when did the next feature come about? What did that early customer impact actually look like for the TikTok Shop?
Yeah, I think in the early days of TikTok Shop, we all now know that the strategy is very different. But the early days of TikTok Shop, really what you just need to do is message as many creators as possible. We all know this is because TikTok was providing incentives on the platform. They were giving you like free shipping. They were giving free shipping to the brands. They were giving like free ad spend. The algorithm was very likely pushing more shoppable content. They were also giving deals to people purchasing, right? Like free first purchase or free first 3 purchases. Totally. So really, it was the value was immediate in the early days. Like we just needed to reach any creators, and a majority of them would make content that sold, right?
Yep.
So the value we were getting and the feedback we were getting, to Jerry's point, where we were helping a lot of the early day customers also were like small business owners. You know, in the early days, TikTok Shop was seen more as a cheap, like kind of scammy website where like Chinese sellers are selling like crappy products and things like that. So we didn't have any like Crocs or L'Oreal or any of these big massive enterprise brands on the platform, right? So we were really helping these like mom and pop shop type of people, some of which still use our software today, right? Make hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that was like really changed changed it to a mission driven right there, where we're helping other entrepreneurs. But I think in terms of understanding what to build next in Reacher, and which we still do today, is we just talk to the customers and understand like what is the actual marketing workflow that they need to use to continuously generate revenue on TikTok Shop. You know, it starts off with like finding the right creators. Then it went into messaging them, which we had already built. And then the next thing we noticed people were doing manually was, okay, like during the process of the collaboration, you know, you approve the sample, then you want to send them like a creative brief and some example videos, right? People were just like manually going and sending those messages to creators that were in that bucket. So we were like, why don't we just allow them to automate that portion, right? The CRM, we call it a CRM automation now.
Let's backpedal a little bit, right? So you're talking to your first couple customers, right? You're messaging them or helping them message with your Python script. And then you start uncovering that there are these platform incentives, which essentially help drive usage and adoption of TikTok Shop to new customers by subsidizing the risk, whether it's shipping costs, whether it's first time purchase, etc. Right? How did you guys like uncover that information and continue to hone just the messaging part to get your next 8 to 9 customers?
We did that by talking to the customers.
Okay, so when you talk to the customers, walk me through how you would do a, let's say, user interview when you were talking to those customers early. Like, what kinds of questions did you ask them? What kind of insights did you hear that reinforced the idea that you need to keep going with this idea rather than pivoting?
I see. I think
One thing I want to add there is like, if you remember, we deliberately made the choice not to build our platform on Discord. That was what our competitor was doing. And it was your whole automation workflow was based on Discord bot. And I think we were one of the first to say, let's build our own platform that users can log into, set their own messaging, create automations and run them on their own time. I think that led to a big unlock where you didn't need to be like, most marketing workers are not on Discord, right? So it's like make an account, log in and do your own thing. That actually led to a big amount of growth. And it definitely cost us a good amount of money to do and hiring engineers. But I think that got us further than the initial script.
Yeah. I mean, if we think about why we did that, it was also because we talked to customers and a lot of customers were complaining about the competitors only using Discord to build their bot and run they were calling it bots, right? To build and run the bot, essentially you had to have Discord, and people were complaining to us about that. They're like, oh, like if you guys could make this its own web portal that we could just log into, we'd much prefer that rather than going to Discord. It's annoying. I don't like this or that, right? So I think it all comes back down to when we saw people successfully using our software, they already wanted to talk to us more, to say like, oh, like these guys are helping us make a ton of money. Let's talk to them more and see like what else they might have, right? And we also want to talk to them because we see the numbers on the screen and the GMV just like skyrocketing, right? So we think, how else can we help with this process, knowing that there's definitely other things that these brand owners are doing in the back end that we don't have access to because we're not running a brand ourselves, right?
Got it. Okay, so let's say that considering that the customers were coming to you, asking you to build more stuff for them, like what were you guys choosing between building in the earlier days after just messaging then?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think one thing that came up a lot was helping with violations. I think that was a very common feature request, and we entertained it. We were thinking about, okay, this is something we tackle as our overall vision of the AI affiliate manager. We haven't said that word in a while, but for people watching, like when you give access to Reacher on TikTok Shop, you're granting them the affiliate manager role. And as you know, TikTok Shop runs on affiliates. That's the main role you need basically to grow revenue. And so we're like, okay, they're granting us this role, but users are still having to take actions themselves and know what to do. What if we can build an AI version of the affiliate manager? And technically that is still what we're building today. We're still building towards that. But we were like, okay, violation support, that's not really the job of an affiliate manager. And so that was something like where once we grounded ourselves into this vision, we were kind of discarding things that even though it was commonly brought up. And I think we made the right decision because the revenue model there just wasn't clear either.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of other founders and investors we talk to, they say you need to interview your customers and listen to them to understand what they want. Like the whole Y Combinator mantra is make something people want. So you want to be talking to people at all times to understand what they want and what they need. But then also it's nuanced because people want everything under the sun, right?
They don't know what they want either.
They don't even know what they want, right? So it's your job as a founder or product manager or whatever to interview these customers and really get as much information as possible from each customer, and then look across all your customers horizontally and see like, okay, what is the feature or set of features that is common across all the customers, right? So like it'll help the majority of people. And then also like once you've identified that, which of these 2 or 3 features are actually the most mission critical for them to achieve some goal, which like, let's say the goal is to get as many creators to post as many quality videos as possible, right? So it's a lot of just like deep diving and understanding more and more and asking more and more questions, which you're really good at, right? And you know how to do. So to really understand like, why does this person want this feature? And then from your knowledge of all the workflows of all the brands, then you decide internally, like, okay, this will actually provide value if we build it, and it can be built essentially.
So let's skip forward to the CRM then. So I think
Okay.
I remember when you were messaging me on WhatsApp when I was at an agency, Vendo. I think you saw the same profile picture on your WhatsApp. You with your hands in your pockets.
And you saw the same name.
Yeah, and I'm still in his phone as Sohan TikTok Shop Vendo comments. TTS actually. TikTok Shop's not even spelled out.
Yeah.
So you were messaging me about the CRM and trying to collect some early feedback from me as a customer.
Yeah.
And I was also giving CRM feedback to another software at the time, right? Why were you guys thinking about doing CRM? What is CRM? How did this idea even come into play in Reacher's Next Evolution?
CRM. Yeah, I mean, I think we realized, again, by just analyzing the data of the people we were working with, the brands we were working with, and also just talking to them, that there was a big need. Because like one brand can work with hundreds of thousands of creators, right? Now, some brands were using like a Google spreadsheet to try to keep track of that. Other brands were using the TikTok Shop Affiliate Center to try to keep track of that. But there was no central, really good tool that was usable as a CRM to understand like where in the pipeline are these creators, like how can I re-engage them, kind of like a HubSpot for TikTok Shop. There was nothing like that, right? So we were like, okay, there is a really dire need for the ability to manage these creators and understand which ones to reactivate and which ones to send what message to in which part of the pipeline.
Well, I guess what's the point in like, this might sound like a stupid question, but like what's the point in even managing these creators? How'd you guys know this was like really a problem? Just because people were doing it in spreadsheets?
Yeah. I think people were doing it manually and people were not knowing the right things to do. So I think that's where the CRM came in to help save manual work and also provide you use cases that you didn't know about. I think, it's if you think about it, you send a product out, you want to make sure that they get it. You want to make sure that they post the video. You want to make sure they know how to post the video. And then you want to make sure they keep posting videos. To send a sample for every new video you want is no longer a viable strategy. You want to get more bang out of your buck from one sample. And that means posting multiple times, and that actually means iterating on the content. So if you make some good videos, you want to get feedback, or you want to just understand what the market is reacting to your video. You may even want to share some of your learnings back to the brand, and you guys can work on a deeper partnership. There is so much value in continued relationship with the creator. And I think back then, before the CRM, it really just was one-time sample send out, make the video, generate me, and we may never even talk again. And so once we realized that there was 5 or 6 core use cases of the CRM that I just listed, plus a few other edge cases that would actually round out the marketing workflow that everybody was doing manually in spreadsheets. That was when we realized the true value of the CRM. And coincidentally, we had just brought in a senior engineer, and it was like his main job to build the CRM. And it took us some time, a bunch of, data tracking and different table schema design, because, it does get very complicated. Just to give you a picture, there's number of creators, and it's also by product, it's also by status, and there's 8 to 10 different statuses of a creator's workflow in TikTok Shop. All that data updated every few hours and for every shop, and doing so with cost and speed in mind. And so it was a very, very interesting project.
How did you guys figure out the trade-offs to make between cost and speed in the early days when you didn't have the 1,000 customers you have today? Like the CRM idea, it makes sense. There's a marketing team tracking the statuses of creators to make sure that when I send a product, they actually post a video. Because for most people who actually don't know about TikTok Shop, creators don't have to post videos when you send it to them. Nope. So you guys were sort of ahead of the curve when you were thinking about another problem marketers were having, where it's like, if we send out products and creators don't post, how much money are we leaking? And then now you're thinking about, hey, how much time and money are we saving by you having a CRM today versus not having one, right? So that's one aspect there. But then building that costs time and money, hiring a senior engineer to build that. What was that decision-making process? What were you guys thinking about during that time?
So this Reacher was bootstrapped for the first 6 to 8 months. So cost was massive for us, considering the context that we just put in a bunch of money for 2 failed startups with no revenue. Yeah. So cost was definitely important. I'll say we found our first engineers through this company called Micro One. Shout out Ali.
Shout out Ali.
You know, the platform provided us like pre-vetted engineers. I was just like, okay, like vetted more for culture fit. And if it was great, like they joined and they started providing value immediately. And so that was one, reduced the speed of hiring and also provided more of like a surplus of talent that was affordable. And that was really needed for startups. But yeah, like the cost for that came from our own money. Like I remember Bora and I like selling a good amount of stocks and transferring money from our own account into the company bank account. It actually needed this minimum balance where it would close our credit cards.
Yeah.
Right. It was Mercury.
Yeah.
Actually, after we were like, I don't want to use this anymore.
Like limiting us.
But I remember, and it took us a while to transfer that money out because we were like, we need to maintain the minimum balance. And our own bank accounts were very, very low.
Yeah.
And so that was very hard. And then, you know, hired the first engineer, started making revenue. And I think it was more about the belief that this would keep growing. It wasn't like our MRR was covering all the costs.
No.
Considering we were paying ourselves nothing and we were just using our savings. It was really that like, okay, this little purple chart on Stripe is like growing like this.
Yeah.
And that it will keep growing like this.
Yeah.
That, okay, well, let's sink more money in. Right. And that got us to, I think, certain revenue where we ended up being able to raise a 100K check from an angel investor, which also was complete, I would say, coincidence from like Bora's, one of his like, you know, outings that he does. Okay. Yeah, no, he didn't even, he was just like, yeah, I'm going to this thing called like the Rotary Club. I was like, dude, do you really have time to volunteer right now?
I remember that was a point of conversation for me and Jerry.
Oh God.
It's like, dude, we're like have no money. We're like losing a ton of money. We just like 2 startups failed and you're gonna join a Rotary Club? Like what even is a Rotary Club? And I was like,
that's like a high school club that I used to do.
But it's not. It's actually, I can explain that part if you want.
You
like,
should.
Well, I think what's kind of interesting is like you guys are deciding to basically spend money on researching and developing this new solution. I think early days when you have 2 founders in the business, there's going to be different views on like how to spend money and what we should be doing with each other's time, right? So how are you guys, like what was going on when you guys were, you know, when you were going to the Rotary Club and you're like, we need to work and you're making this investment, you might not have felt the same way about that investment, right? Like how do you guys manage those kinds of different points of views on decisions, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the way we manage it now, I think.
How'd you manage it back then?
So I'll get to that. The way we manage it now is very different than how we managed it back then. Actually, I would not say the way we manage it now is different. I think inherently the way we think about things is different. Because the way we managed it back then is we would just talk about it, but we would just not agree on things very often. Like Jerry was always more of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, he was more of like, let's be a little bit riskier and let's spend a little more money or try this or try that. And I was like, oh, let's try to like save more money and like, let's not be as risky. And I think the agreement, the right amount of risk was actually like somewhat in the middle of where we were, right? But we had a lot of conversations like that, like, oh, we should just work all day, every day versus like, let's have some time to like not work and just like decompress. And then there was like 2 extremes of that. I think we've had a lot of conversations and building of expectations and building of trust. And also a lot of like looking internally, individually, and like dealing with ego and things like that. It was a long process, but just a lot of communication, a lot of conversation, and a lot of trying to keep ego in check definitely helped with that process. But we can talk about that a lot and go into details there.
Yeah, because you guys have done multiple companies together, right? So clearly you've figured out a way where you both get along and you have responsibilities divided up. You guys probably have some sort of framework where it's like, here's how we're going to come to decisions. Like sometimes we may disagree, but we need to keep things moving. So here's how we move things along, right? There's different risk appetites as well, you know, different strengths and weaknesses. So when it comes to like risk appetite specifically, how did you guys find the middle ground? And for other newer co-founders out there who are trying to understand and find that middle ground with their co-founder, what would you tell them or how would you guide them?
Yeah, that's a question for you.
For me?
Yeah.
For the risk appetite?
Yeah.
Given that you were the more risky one?
Yeah, because I feel like my stance largely hasn't changed.
Yeah.
That's why it's like not interesting for me to say, because I think, starting a company is risk, and you got to spend money to make money. So it's like, how have you changed?
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, you're right. So Jerry, as I said earlier, has always been the more risky one. I think Jerry has been through a few things in his life that are different than what I've been through, that have led to him being more risky, like kind of all or nothing and just like pedal to the metal kind of guy. I, on the other hand, have always been a little bit more risk averse. Like I've still been risky. Like I still try to start my own things and like, you know, make decisions that are not like that data based, and I just want to just do it. But definitely not to Jerry's level, especially with like money. Probably it's because of like differing upbringings and things like that. But I think Jerry, through each startup we did together, brought me more and more towards his like riskiness. I think that's a combination of myself being able to be convinced, and also his way of like, he's a very logical guy. And our conversations are actually usually very logical and data backed, right? The conversations we have. Like I would say a majority of our conversations now, like there's not much emotion involved because it doesn't really help usually when you're making a business decision. That obviously took time to kind of change and get to where we are today.
To play devil's advocate, I'd argue a conversation about risk appetite is only about emotions and only about your guys' characters and your emotional reactions to different levels of risk. I'd argue it's a very emotionally charged conversation. How do you approach a conversation like that with like mainly logic, especially if you guys have different upbringings and different reactions towards money going in, you know, to this bank account versus spending on this, you know?
Yeah, I would say, I think we still try to reduce it down to logic, but what we used to talk about was like, okay, what we're doing here is trying to compress 40 to 50 years of work into say 10. So that takes an outsized amount of input, like in terms of work hours and money input. It's not supposed to be as easy as working a normal job and getting the benefits and safety of that. It's never supposed to be like that. And so we first agree on like, do we want this outcome? Yes. Okay. So it's going to be a very extraordinary path to get there. And that requires risk. Like I remember there was a time where I was not working and Bora was working. I was like, dude, like I need your full time on this. And it's like, you're not supposed to be able to start $1 billion company, working a job and like doing another startup on the side, and, you know, and still being balanced and hanging out with family and working out and all of that. And so I think like that was based on logic. And I think soon after that, you know, you quit your job at like a very good company that the stock was growing, right? And it's like, that's a hard decision. It's a hard decision. And so, sure, like to answer your question about emotion, there were also times where it was like logic was said and then it was kind of flamed on with some emotion of like, also like, dude, I need your 100% on this. Like we've put so much time and effort into this. We need to make it work. Like, don't let me down, right? And it's like, I think a lot of the things that we do now, it's like we've been, you know, like friends for 8 years, and being co-founders, we kind of just know that we'll never give up. And I think a part of that for me is like, I don't want to let him down, you know? Like we've been through so much shit that there's no reason for anybody to give up even when times gets hard. And I think that part is the emotion. It's like, literally, this is a friendship that lasts beyond business. And so let's make this business work and let's make the friendship better and everything.
Yeah. And we are still friends. I think being friends previously and still being friends helps a lot with, you know, this co-founder relationship. I think definitely it's like, it takes a lot of inwards looking and you just have to be very truthful with each other. Like, and I think just like being very truthful, just saying exactly what you're feeling in a way that's not like F you, you know, it's like it's saying it's kind of it's very hard to do this. I think it's like you have to be like a therapist and understand how to like speak without like attacking them, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be
communication.
Exactly. You have to be very pointed with your words and in your tone and things like that. And then after that, it's up to the other person to really say, okay, let me think about that. Let me process it. Let me think inwardsly without thinking about like, I'm mad at you. and then coming back to the conversation, assuming you're both wanting to go in the same direction, right? I think a really important thing to focus on, what Jerry just said, is like, hey, this is what we're going for. This is the goal. Do you want to do that? Like, is this what you want to achieve? If the answer is yes, then let's keep talking. If the answer is like no, then there's no point in talking anymore. And then once that answer is yes, you just have to keep remembering, like, this is the goal. This is what we're trying to go for. This is what it takes to get there. Do you want to do it? Can you do it? Is this something you're going to enjoy? Right? Let's look at all these other companies that have been started, like Airbnb, Brian Chesky, like, you know, Elon Musk and how crazy he was, Steve Jobs, like all these massive companies. What did the founders do? Let's look at like all the data that exists in the world.
FedEx founder,
like we did some stuff like FedEx founder, like I think his name was Fred Smith, I think. Most American name ever. But yeah, like these guys just had never ending just dedication to the craft and just worked so much at the expense of everything else in their life, you know?
But that was a huge shift, it sounds like you made, where Jerry was coming to you and pulling you to like change your work-life balance, get out of your job, and then you went and reprocessed it and like pretty much did a full 180 on your entire life, right? Like what did that process look like to like take that feedback and make such a drastic change? Like you guys talked about not bringing ego into it. I can imagine like that wasn't easy. Like that was probably like a big inflection point for the company, is like if you had or hadn't gone all in, Reacher might not be here today, right?
I think it was definitely a mixture of Jerry convincing me, continuously convincing me. Also the point of I was working still for the second company, for Storian. I was working and Jerry wasn't, and he was all in. And it was just like, I think the fact that I didn't truthfully enjoy my previous job and what I was doing helped. Jerry convincing me helped. And then realizing like what I wanted to achieve in life and what I wanted to do, coupled with like personal issues that I had and whatnot, that all led me towards like, if I want to achieve all the things I want to achieve, if I want to like change the world the way I want to change the world, if I want to enjoy my life and do things that I actually enjoy versus following someone else's prerogative that I've been following my whole life, like being from Cupertino, California, I did software engineering. I was an engineer, but I never ever actually enjoyed or wanted to be a software engineer, truthfully. Like now that I look back on this, actually, I was just telling my fiance, Jamie, last night, literally, I was like, why did I not just go into sales? Because like my whole life I've been selling shit. Like if I remember like in high school, I was selling cookie dough. When I was little, when I was in Stevens Creek Elementary School as a freaking fourth grader, I was building Elmer's glue igloos and selling those to other kids. Like, and like in college, I was selling LED rave concert tickets to people as I was a promoter.
I think I bought some from you.
Yeah, he bought some for me. So I'm like, and then
price.
Yeah, and like I've always been known as like the guy that just like talks to other people, and I just don't know why I didn't do that, right? But I think like this process of talking to Jerry and like realizing I wasn't enjoying my job and like what I was doing and the path I was on, thanks to Jerry, I just like constantly like being there to tell me about this. I was like, yeah, I don't want to continue life the way I'm doing it, and I'm willing to take this risk and just go into the unknown and dive deep. And I have someone that I know also is there for the journey, and we're on the same page, and we're just like, gonna go for this. And like, it was a gradual shift in my mindset. It wasn't just all at once.
Very well said. I think on the engineer point though, I actually think you having an engineering background has helped the company. Like I think if you had just done sales your whole life and you were just the pure like sales and growth co-founder, it would be a different state today. I think you understand the importance of good engineering talent. You may even be able to vet for them. I think we've talked about like, if we were to start a VC firm someday, what traits we would look for in an engineer, right? Yeah. And it's like, you actually, because you've been one, so you understand one, how to vet for them, and two, the importance of engineering to a tech company.
Of course.
Right. Yeah. So, but anyways, like back to the co-founder point, it was a long process. And I think it took many months. And I remember we used to have walks during the day, talks until like 12 a.m. at night for like months. Yeah. And it wasn't, so it's like, it's not supposed to be easy because this is a really, really big life decision. I think coming from, you know, Asian households where like our families expect us to make a steady income, get married, and just like rest, invest. This is a drastically different path than what they expect, and convincing family too, right? I remember. Yeah. And so, you know, to like people that want to start a company watching and you have these co-founder conversations, don't expect that it will be easy, but like keep going at it. Like Boris said, your goal is to build something great together, figure out the pieces in the path that gets you there. Just expect that it'll take many months of conversations. And I think another thing you should keep in mind is so YC says like the number one reason for companies dying is co-founder breakup. It's not because you ran out of money. It's not because no one's buying your product. It's because you and your co-founder or one of you guys gave up, or you guys fought and argued probably over the state of the business, and just somebody's morale just tanked, and now the company's gone. And so I think that's why we put so much time into this. You could say it's like a waste of time. Why are you guys like talking all day? Build the company and like, right? And it's like, well, because we're the two most important people and the people are not aligned and one of them might not be all in or the other person might be feeling down. You need to make sure that piece is the most important. Like similarly, I think I was going through like a bunch of random personal shit and like, you know, it would normally you'd be like, okay, why would you tell your business co-founder about that? But at that time, we spent so much time together that I was like, this is the only guy I can talk to that gets it, because like life and business are so intertwined now that like literally we're the only person for each other that has the context to understand why this is hard. And so I think for anybody wanting to start a company, take care of the co-founder relationship first. It's very important. Once you have that stable foundation, like the 2, 3, whatever, how many co-founders you have can tackle all the challenges that come afterwards.
Yeah.
I was going to say I'm going to play devil's advocate, but also kind of repeat what a lot of people are thinking about starting businesses with your friends. I think we hear a lot that you shouldn't get into business with your friends and you shouldn't intertwine all the personal and emotional stuff together. But it seems like you guys are saying that has made you guys even stronger co-founders, right? So I guess where are the points where if you're starting a business with your friend, where can it go wrong and where can it go right? Like what's the real cost benefit there to doing that?
It's a good question. You know, we actually worked with tons of our friends too for the startup. And I think everyone had good intentions, but you know, it takes so much dedication to build a startup. And I get it's really not for everyone. For me and Bora specifically, I think the hard parts was those few months where friendship was wrapped inside business, where it was like, I would say pretty low times where actually I felt like didn't know if we could keep doing this thing. And I think that was friendship, ego, kind of personal opinion, and actually wrapping up like our own life story for this is our worldview and this is why you should see it this way. That all got tangled up. And I think that was the hard part to your point. And I think a lot of people don't make it past that point. They're just like, yeah, I probably shouldn't start a company with this guy that like is my friend. And I feel like one, they know too much about me, or two, you know, because we're friends, we feel like we can get super real and emotional, and that sometimes might not be conducive for business. And so it is hard. I don't want to say if you're friends, you should start a company, because you're going to have to go through many, many months of tribulations. But I think it's a double-edged sword. If you do figure it out, it becomes your strength, where now you actually like, for example, our fiancés know each other, right? So if like Boris says like, Jamie needs me to do something, it's not like Jamie is like an unknown character to me. I'm just like, wait, why are you pulling my co-founder away from the business? It's like, okay, I know this person. This is actually like a real life thing that he has to do. And it's much easier to understand because we're friends. And that's just one of many examples.
Yeah, I think another thing I could say is for Y Combinator, surprisingly, they kept saying like, start a company with your friends and hire your friends and everything with your friends. But Jerry and I have tried doing that, and it has never actually worked out like with any of our friends, honestly, other than just me and him. I think we could chalk that up to a few things. Jerry and I don't have a traditional founder background, I would say, when compared to like other Y Combinator founders. We partied a lot in college. We were in a fraternity. We weren't known as like these like super smart, hardworking, dedicated guys. You know, we played a lot of video games together. We had a lot of fun. I'll just say that, right? So like we were naturally surrounded by people like ourselves, just people that like to party and have fun and be in a fraternity. Now I'm not saying anything about people like that. I think there's a lot of people that have fun and are very successful, like artists or like DJs and things like that. But I think our circle at the time was not surrounded by Y Combinator type founders, right? And I think when Y Combinator tells you should start a company with your friends, if we talk to other people in Y Combinator or the partners in YC, they're all people that were probably like doing hackathons in college and like had their own startup or doing their own projects in college and like tinkering around, and they're surrounded by a bunch of other really smart people. I think in that case, it makes sense. And you can take into account everything Jerry and I are talking about where it comes to like building trust and like communication with people like that, like yourself, that are like on the same path and like-minded. I think we didn't have that option really. And I'd say like the fact that we kind of ended up on the same path and the same mindset was a matter of, yes, a lot of like talking and convincing and whatnot, but also a matter of like luck, because I think I also wanted to just be on the startup grind and I actually enjoy it. So it just happened to like work out. But I wouldn't say that if you are like me and Jerry and you come from a background of not really working that hard and not like having this idea of success or not being interested in like AI technology, you just like party a lot or in a fraternity, like you can probably still be successful. But in terms of like starting a company with your friends, I don't know that group would be the right group to start a company with, for a large part. Maybe there's like one or two, right?
So it sounds like mainly values and attitude, right? Where it's like, how do you value work-life balance? How do you value sacrifice? How do you value determination? What do you do when times get tough? How do you react to stress?
Yeah.
Understanding those characteristics of the people you're around with, and if that's present in your friends, then you would say for founders that have those friends with those traits, start a company with them.
I think
versus the ones who don't.
Yeah,
correct?
I think you could, because like I've tried starting companies or like nonprofits or whatever previously before starting companies with Jerry, with some of my other friends, and I think the issue that I faced was exactly what you said, like the fact that people wanted that work-life balance, like a proper 9-to-5 work-life balance, and they didn't want to spend their evenings working until like 10 p.m. There was also the idea of like, oh, Bora, you and I are the same type of person. Like we're on the same level. So when the conversation comes of like who's CEO and who's not CEO, right? That's also like ego comes into play. And they're like, I've had conversations where friends have been like, I don't like how you're running this company. I'm done. Like, or like you are not better than me, or you don't have a title above me. We should be the same. And I'm just like, that's not how a company usually works. But it was just kind of ego came into play. And just because of their expectations and the way we were friends before, that gets in the way of building a company together. But I think to your point, people that have the same interests and kind of like if they have a history of tinkering and a history of building things, I think that's like Y Combinator. What they look at is you have built a lot of stuff in the past and you have been interested in building some sort of company in the past. That tells them, that's like a leading indicator that you will actually be successful in building a company because you actually care to do that because you've done it in the past over 4 or 5 years, whether in high school or middle school or whatever.
So that's an interesting point, right? Because I see a lot of SF companies hire companies of former founders. And like that's a trait that's like super glorified in hiring early stage talent. But then I'm also hearing early employees are like, we're not on the same level, or like, I disagree with how you're running the company. I think that comes from like a founder opinion perspective, right? Those almost sound conflicting. Which is like more important, or like, what did you guys consider in hiring your first couple people of talent, right? And trying to convince them to work with you. Did any of those things come up?
We could talk about you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Was I first?
You were not first.
No.
So I think there's probably like other people before you got to me, right?
We can start with some other people beforehand, but I would say like the other people we hired other than Akshat, who else is still here?
Or we can just start with me, because I think I probably was maybe the first hire who was like really challenging like maybe every single thing you guys were doing.
Yeah.
And that kind of hits at the other points where it's just like, managing those expectations, egos coming into play. I think one thing you did really well, Bora, because me and you primarily worked together at the beginning, now working a lot with Jerry as well, is like you had a completely open mind, and you were just open to this feedback. But anyone who has built $1 million company and some kid is coming in being like, yo, like everything you're doing is wrong, you know, or like this doesn't work or that doesn't work, or like here's 12 pieces of feedback, you know, here, like, how do you handle like dealing with someone like that coming in, and how do you recruit them to even come in your company?
The answer to your first question before talking about like why we identified you and why we wanted you to come to the company. The feedback thing, like any feedback is good feedback, even if it's complete BS. I think that's what we learned with our conversations back and forth. Like, just listen. And if you don't agree with it, that's fine. You don't agree with it and you can just let them know, right? But in all feedback, or I believe in like 99% of feedback, there's actually something there. Even if it's like someone's just swearing at you, there's something there for you to like use to get better at better yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I think you do have a lot of feedback. And I think your action kind of told me that this guy like actually cares, and you want to go and work and do something and do something beyond yourself, versus like I would hire people that just come in and I have to like check in on them and I have to tell them exactly what to do, and like they wouldn't even do the things I tell them to do, right? You came in, you immediately are like, even before you came in, you were like, hey, let's talk about your sales script, like let's like break that down, things like that, right? So I think in terms of identifying you as really like my right hand man, I think all founders in the early days are looking for someone who is super active, who has that experience, who can hit the ground running, and who really treats the company as if it's their own company, as if they are the founder of the company, right? They're just like, hey, and of course you have to incentivize them properly so that they do feel that it is their company, right? So I see you smirking there.
Of course, yeah.
But really, like what we noticed was you were working for our competitor, right? We were doing some Silicon Valley type deals in the background,
Yes,
like, you know, taking you out to dinner and stuff during Y Combinator. But what we identified, Jerry and I had this exact conversation. We're like, we need to find someone who can help me on the go-to-market side, right? And we need someone who is just like super active and is like, can help also be the face of the company in some aspect, right? And we saw that you were literally the full face of the company for one of our competitors. And we're like, this guy's everywhere. Like, we don't even see the founder doing anything like online, on LinkedIn, or even in person. Like, people would mention like you over the founder, right? And I was like, this guy is just like a director title, but he's seems like he's the founder, right? Mm-hmm. So initially we were like, let's just try to defeat him through me like out competing you.
Yep.
But then we're like, wait, why not just try to talk to him and see where his head's at and see like if he'd be willing to come over to us? Because we saw those traits that we were looking for. Like, you were like a mini founder of that company, right? And we're like, we want someone that like that with us, right? So we thought, why not try to talk to him and see where his head's at? We talked to you and we like realized you're a really smart guy, and you came over and you like started consulting and whatnot.
Wasn't poker kind of your way in?
That was you trying to.
I guess if we want to get deep in the details, essentially, I like the way I fished you in. I suppose was I was on a webinar. I had my line. I was on a webinar and he was presenting, and then he made like a poker reference. He's like, "Oh, I'm a big poker junkie." And like,
this is a fun fact for the webinar.
Yeah, fun fact.
Yeah.
He's like, "This is a fun fact for the webinar. Like, this is like a poker like workflow. Like, when you get to the river, there's like 8%.
I did a post on that like 2 days ago.
Something like that. He made some poker reference, and I was like, perfect. And I cast my line, and I sent him a message on WhatsApp to Sohan, TikTok Shop, Meadow Sanka. And I said, hey, like, I saw you like poker. Let's talk about that. And his response, I could tell he was like, I was a little fishy. You know, I don't know if I want to talk to this guy. But I started building up this like relationship with him and this trust, and we like got him to meet us in person where we discussed. We're like, hey, let's just talk to him and see what kind of guy he is, what he actually knows, and what he actually does for this other company. We had that dinner, and you were very diplomatic. You like, we also liked that you didn't really tell us any kind of like details that would, you know, kind of slander your relationship with that company either. You were very diplomatic. You didn't give us any. We tried to get it from you, and you didn't give us any information that we shouldn't have gotten from you. Which we were like, okay, that's good, you know. And then we realized like this guy's really smart. He has all these ideas. He's doing all these things in terms of marketing and sales for the other company.
Well, he wasn't getting the budget to do them.
But he wasn't getting, well, you were trying to, but you weren't getting the budget. And we're like, okay, so if this guy did X for that company and he could do even more given the budget and whatnot he's asking for, like, would it be unreasonable to suggest that if we brought him over to our company and we gave him the autonomy to be able to do this stuff?
Yeah.
Right. Well, could we scale?
I think it makes sense. Like, I think there was a lot of signal given that I did something very similar. I was cosplaying founder. I was branding. I was evangelizing. Like, all things you guys wanted. But I think one thing that people might not understand is like the ego aspect, right? If you're bringing in someone who's coming in as mini founder and making huge decisions, right? I'm coming in as your right-hand man. How does Jerry play into that equation? Because early days, if you're bringing in someone who's giving very influential, impactful direction on the company, what does the process look like when coordinating with your other founder? What if there's disagreements between the new person you're bringing in and then the CEO? How do you, as the person who's bringing that person in and having someone else sort of guide the company's vision, get adjusted to that as a founder? The biggest thing for founders who have 100% control of their company is starting to let go and understand the vision is getting bigger than just them two, and bringing in senior talent who's coming in and saying like, yo, like, do this differently. Maybe Jerry has a completely different view on marketing than I do. And it's it's Jerry's company. It's Jerry's money that's going into the marketing budget, right? But then, you know, this guy is coming in saying something else. How are you brokering that decision-making process? And
yeah, I mean, I'm sure Jerry has input on this as well. I think from my perspective, it's a matter of trust again and communication that we've built up together. So he trusts that I'm making the right decision, and that by bringing you in, he's trusting me that like everything you're saying and all the feedback you're giving is right in some regard, but not like trusting and believing blindly. I think if there is no conflict happening, then that's actually bad. Like there should always be discussions and conflict going on in a company, I think. And the way you deal with that conflict and those discussions is what really results in a company succeeding or not. I think the way I guess I brokered it would be I'd listen. Like this actually did happen, right, with us. So I would listen to both sides, and I'd try to understand the goal of what's going on. I think I talked to each of you individually, right, and playing kind of like a game of telephone, right, in some way. But I think like once I realized like what is the goal and what is the mismatch in communication here, it was literally just all three of us being in a room and talking together, man to man, right, and just understanding like. Because the ego thing, I think Jerry and I already solved. Like we solved through me.
But now you have a third person with their own ego coming in,
right? Exactly.
Who doesn't have those 3 years of history.
Yeah, I think what happened or what started working was stopping the telephone game. I think I remember there was an initial few weeks when you just started. I think you guys were in like LA.
Yep.
And it was like, Sohan told Bora this, Bora told Jerry this, and I was like, wait, why do you say that? And it would go through you again.
Jerry told Bora this, and it go
and
back
I think
to you.
yes, it was the three of us in a conversation, but what I think things really started picking up and our working relationship like got drastically more productive was when we just talked to each other. It was like, sure, he's your right hand man, but doesn't mean we can't talk independently.
Yep.
And then I think I was also borrowing from your like kind of wisdom of how to deal with a third person with their own ego, right? I think you guys worked very closely in the beginning. And so I think you passed down some of like knowledge of, okay, this is how you can work with somebody like this. I remember we had those conversations. It was like, okay, great. This is like how to work with Sohan 101, you know? And I think that helped me a lot. And again, it's to an earlier point of isolating the emotion from the feedback. And I think that's a hard trait that I'm still working on. But like Sohan can say something like, yo, dude, like, fuck you, you're stupid, but this is what you should do. And you just have to ignore the fuck you, you're stupid part.
Here's what I need to do.
Yeah, but here's what I need to take notes.
So how do you do that in like practice? Like what does this actually look like on like a day-to-day?
Yeah, so it's actually like, it's hard, right? So when you're telling me fuck you, I'm actually just be like, you know what, fuck you too. But I'll remember what you said, and like, I won't even agree in the moment, but I'll still remember what you said, and I'll take time later to process it. I take notes on the feedback, and I also like give yourself the time to process the feedback. Even if it's insulting to your ego, and even in the moment you can react to it, but remember to process it. And even if it takes a week, process it.
So not being reactive is the first thing.
Don't be reactive.
For sure.
Yeah, and isolate the emotion from the feedback by giving it time.
Got it.
I think another thing, don't be reactive right away. The other thing is, I think you also can have your mind changed. Like, as long as no one is reactive in the moment, then it's a discussion of like data-backed decisions, right? So I think what works well with all three of us is we approach the conversation. Sure, someone has like a really strong opinion one way and the other person has a strong opinion the other way. But there have been many times where like you've changed my mind or I've changed your mind or you've changed his mind and vice versa. But I think what I've noticed is no one has been reactive in the moment. We all kind of just like listen and sure, like maybe we'll debate and then we'll be like, okay, we're at an impasse. Let's take the data we have now and then go and revisit this later. But no one has gone heated and started like actually saying like fuck you or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I think all three of us are able to look at that data, hear the other person out, and as long as it's not like a really, really big life-changing decision it's like not a door that you can't walk back from. Then we're like, okay, let's just try it. Let's see. I'll have the data. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. Let's just try it. I think to your point, like Jerry and I, through our 3 years of experience, understood that, okay, we do have that capability to make that kind of decision and like listen to the other person and decide their way versus ours. I think for someone that's coming in as a third party like yourself, you have to kind of understand if that person is able to do that as well. Like if you were not able to have your mind changed no matter what, I don't think it would have worked. And I think that's just like hire fast, fire fast, right? I think to your point, like people need to, like if we are doing everything we can to keep our egos in check and provide the data, but the third person is still like, no. And then like, if you, as a founder, you have to just make a decision and they're like, no, I don't like that decision, I'm not gonna do it, then there's not really anything you can do at that point, right?
Is there any way to screen for that or character traits to check for that when you're evaluating someone who's gonna have big impact on your company before you bring them in?
Yeah, I think there's a lot you can do in interviews and asking questions. I do think that it's hard in interviews because people will always say what you want to hear, even if you ask them. Like there's ways that you do questions and I can ask questions that you can kind of deduce if that's that kind of person or not. One thing that I've been doing that I really like recently is calling up the previous manager of the person and just asking them directly and just saying like, hey, this is going to be anonymous. Like, don't worry. Like I'm not going to tell them that what you told me. And like, I've gotten a lot of information from previous managers. I just ask them directly. I'm like, hey, like, how does this person act or react when you tell them to do something and they obviously they don't agree, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's happened at least once, right? And they just tell you, and I'm like, okay, that's really good information.
So
right?
What's a red flag and green flag when you're calling up their previous managers?
I think
this hire specifically.
Yeah, I would say a red flag is green flags are for me right now. They just like are driven towards action. Like they just like by default take action. I like to actually hear that they like have some conflict within the company. Like, oh, they can like butt heads because that means that they are strong and they won't just like give way really fast. But I always want to be nuanced with like how much they butt heads, right? You don't want someone to just like, unless like if you bring in someone that's like a leader, you want them to be able to have strong opinions. But then also it's like, if you don't agree with them or they don't agree with you, are you able to change their mind? And do they have resentment when you like make a decision as a manager or like as a founder? Are they like resentful or they're like, fine, I'll do it. But then they're like, actually, they resent you at that point. Then I think that's a pretty big red flag.
Jerry, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think this is a separate note, but I think it would be valuable, which is, I think for this, not third person, but if you're founders and you're hiring your founding team, you should look for people that complement your strengths and weaknesses. Mm-hmm. I think what you did very well, Sohan, is complement, I guess. Let's talk about me, right? Like you're helping a lot more on the product side. And I think, so my strengths, I believe, is vision setting, understanding the market, what's possible to be built, and like setting the next 3 to 6 months of the company. I would say where I can get a lot better in is, okay, that's 3 to 6 months out, but there's today, there's next week, there's the meetings we got to run, there's the processes to be built, the SOPs to be written,
Standard
Sohan,
operating
that's
procedures.
Like, I think it's Sohan's middle name.
Yeah.
Sohan SOPs.
I'm gonna change your name. I'm gonna change your name.
Oh no.
But it's very important. And I think that's where Sohan and I think anybody hiring your founding team, you should find people that complement your weaknesses and understanding where your strengths are. So actually like that's somewhere we've butted heads, right? It's like, it's hard. You're a startup, you're trying to move fast. And it's like, what is the right amount of process to get some level of organization, but not over process everything, because things will change because you don't have that much time to process everything. And then processes will change, right? Like what's a process this month will be different next month. And so the right amount of process is something we're still, debating and figuring out. But I think we've aligned on the point that like, okay, we're a company with 20 people now, multiple departments that have to communicate in different ways, make sure SLAs are hit for customers. Like there is a good amount of process. And I think finding people, like I actually think generally founders are not like process builders. They're like, we started this company from the ground up. We're just going to keep doing whatever it takes. We're going to like just put in our own hours and grind and make it happen.
Yeah.
You don't take a step back and be like, okay, how do we make it more efficient? Have a week by week structure. I think that's where someone kind of with a lot of operational experience helps.
What are the sort of like aspects that prevent founders, you believe, from like letting go of that control to let someone else build out the process instead of you setting the tone for the process?
I think for me, it's not even about control. I'm very like, I don't care. If you can take things off my plate and I think it's a good idea, it's not about control. I think it's more about even just realizing that it's important. Once I realize it's important, if you can help me with it, I'm not fearful of like you controlling a part of the company that I don't have any oversight into. I think it's just like, I read this quote recently. It's like, founders have this reality distortion field, but that might also be detrimental to the company. Like a founder can join a call and like get everybody hyped up on some vision, but then like they leave and it's like, okay, how do you execute? How do you execute this freaking vision?
Yeah.
Right. And that actually like might hype people up for no reason or distract people. And so I think founders need to understand that you have to mix in vision and then day-to-day execution. And you need to understand how important that execution is. And once you do, and if there's somebody there to help you do those processes, like don't be afraid. That's how I think about it.
I think it's interesting because within Reacher, I think you had hired more people under your department than Bora did originally, correct? Mm-hmm. And so did you guys have differing views on who does the day-to-day process, what that should look like? Because it seemed different in terms of the department size and scope from the early days, but now it's starting to become more hires on either side.
I don't know that we had an inherent difference between the two sides, I guess. I think we just like needed more people on the engineering and product side faster than we needed people, or we thought we did, at least I'll say, than we thought we did on the go-to-market side. Cause like until like almost multi-million-dollar revenue, I was doing all the sales, all the support, all the customer success for a long time. And it was working and we were still growing revenue. So I think we just thought like, let's keep doing this, which, hindsight's 2020, but probably wasn't the right thing to think. Cause now I have to build all these processes and like hire good people. Right. So, I just think it was a matter of what was working. And then like engineering, I had so much to build and like, we were like hitting like issues with like different things from like bad hires and whatnot. So we were just like really focused on engineering hires and product side. Right. I think that's probably why it ended up looking pretty different in the early days of you joining, but now it's like evening out because now we realize we just need good people everywhere across the company. We just always need to be hiring good people. I do want to touch on an earlier point you brought up where it's how, as a founder, do you relinquish one aspect of your job to someone else coming in? You just like trust them, right? I think that's also another thing I hear a lot of founders struggle with doing is like, as a founder, a majority of founders are jack of all trades, master of none. There's very few founders out there I know of that are like CEOs forever that just like know one thing really, really well. Sure, there's some exceptions out there, but I think for a really good founder, the best thing you can do is get like really good at hiring, like identifying and hiring really good talent after you've, built MVP of your product and scaled to a certain point. And then understanding that there's so many people out there that can do marketing better than me or like customer success better than me or like sales better than me. Like the best salesperson in the world is definitely gonna be better than me. And my goal should be like, how can I find that one best salesperson in the world and incentivize them to come join our company to grow our company? And I think for you, for example, like, I think you are better than me at sales objectively and also like marketing, like whether you're better or not, who knows, but you definitely like it more than me. And like, I think you are objectively probably better than me at marketing as well. Right. I think, I like that you push me to post on LinkedIn every day. Like you'll text me, you'll be like, I'm gonna put a call on your calendar at 7:30 p.m. every night, and you're like, you're gonna write LinkedIn posts and you're gonna like it. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck is this guy putting time on my calendar telling me to write LinkedIn posts? Like that's my initial reaction, right? But then I look at it, I'm like, damn it, though, he's right. Like I need to do this. Like it's for the company. Yeah. So, but that's like that moment where I'm like, who is this guy? And then I'm like, he's right. I need to do that, right? Because I think that's like the ego thing within myself that I have to keep in check and realize that why is Sohan telling me to write a LinkedIn post every single night? Oh, from the 5 conversations we've had about this, it's because this results in more impressions and more eyeballs on the company, which results in the company improving in some way. Therefore, even if I don't like it, I should do it, right? That's the mindset. That's the process. And now I'm like, okay, I can relinquish my majority of my marketing role to you because I can tell that you're better than me and like it's actually good for the company.
So I think there's like 2 components to this below that, right? Like there's people who believe trust is earned, right? Where it's like, I would have to show my results from a tangible sales and marketing impact standpoint before you relinquishing that control. And then there's a trust is given where it's like, what you're saying logically makes sense. So go do it. I feel like most founders are typically in this like trust is earned process, right? But then that also leads to things where it's like the really, really good talent is just like, yo, you're micromanaging me. You're sort of blocking me from like doing the work that I know I can do well. Like where's really the balance there? And like, what do founders get wrong that you feel like you've been able to really do right?
Zero. Timely discussion.
Yeah, timely discussion. Well, I come from a background of cybersecurity, and I was a cybersecurity demo engineer, and our catchphrase, our like slogan was zero trust. Trust nobody ever at all.
Yep.
Ever. And that is actually how I like have operated my majority of my life. Is like I am very paranoid.
Not even yourself.
I don't even trust myself. Like I don't trust anybody.
Why do you trust me?
Yeah. So I actually don't really trust many people. Yeah.
Actually, everything we've talked about.
Yeah. Get out of here. I don't trust
By the
you.
way, zero trust.
Well, I actually do operate on that model though. Like I don't really fully trust anybody ever. Now there's people that I trust a lot more than other people. Like I trust probably Jerry, one of the most in my life, right?
Yeah.
That trust was built up over a lot of time together and like conversations and whatnot. But there's still like a 0.01% chance that he like fucks me over somehow, right? Like that is just the truth. And like he's speaking right now. You just have to accept that, right? Now I think the thing you brought up about micromanagement is very interesting. Like Jerry and I have been on like a Brian Chesky Airbnb founder binge recently.
Oh,
and
I know.
Brian Chesky.
You hear it all the time.
So like, I mean, he has good points though. Like I think micromanaging in and of itself is bad, like for anybody. But I think going into like a micromanager type of level as a founder and like skipping levels and just like talking to everybody in the team and just like kind of working with them is actually good because that helps you build up trust as long as you're not like telling them exactly what to do, right? You're not actually micromanaging them. You're just kind of like, hey, like, what are you working on? Like, let's see if like I can help you solve this problem. And just so I, as a founder, know what's going on so that I can answer questions when people ask me questions about what's going on with marketing, right? I think that's like a trust earned.
I think the key things for me, by the way, the concept here is founder mode from Brian Chesky. The few things I found insightful was you're not micromanaging in the sense you're telling them what to do. I think that's what high performers don't want to be told. It's more like you're in the room with them discussing. And you may not even have to take my idea, but at least I know your thought process. You knew the option I presented, and we have a record of what was discussed, and potentially I could help, right?
Yeah.
And I think founders, or just not founders, anybody in the company can bring a perspective to the room. And I think founders should definitely be in that room. So that's number one. And I think number two, it's like, this is not forever either. Brian Chesky did this during COVID when like Airbnb's market was just going away. And
80%.
He actually had to do it. He realized like, okay, he hired a bunch of people that hired people, and there was like 5 levels of hierarchy, and he didn't even know what the people on the ground were doing anymore. And it's like to steer a company from a crisis, and he said a quote is like, a crisis, for great founders, a crisis actually defines you, not breaks you, right? He said it better than me. But he took that crisis and it was like, okay, COVID's gonna destroy my company. let me actually understand what everybody in the company is doing and fix the problem, and let's grow this company back again. And I think he actually said he had to work like 100-hour weeks for 2 years as founder and CEO, and that by that time it was already a publicly traded company. But he did that for 2 years, and he actually now has much more free time. He was like, you first understand everything that's wrong, fix it, understand the each like root level problem. And actually in the long run, it frees you up, it frees the reports up to do what they need and frees you up to do more visionary work. Like it's not sustainable to be 100% in founder mode, like 5 levels down, talking to the like base level engineer about what they're doing. That's not sustainable for the long run, but it needs to be done maybe in the beginning and maybe like every once so often.
So do you agree that that's what needs to be done at Reacher right now? Like, is that your perspective that you need to be in the love? Like, because there's only like two.
There's only two.
There's like only two. I guess 3 levels now. Technically, you're the third, but there's only 2 levels below you, right?
Right.
Are you going to be solving the root cause for everyone's problem on all those levels right now? Is that what you're saying?
Not solving, but in the room discussing. So let's take our engineering org. We have a head of engineering, and then we have engineers under him. I joined the weekly engineering kickoff, and I joined like 1 or 2 out of the daily stand-ups. I joined the weekly engineering retro to reflect on the week. I'm not coming to that thing with an agenda, but I'm listening, and I'm like going back and forth with ideas, and like more often than not, I provided value. I provided value on, okay, this was the hire we were gonna make. Should we collect more signal on this in another interview? This is the big picture engineering item. Who should work on this? Should it be him? And like, I've worked with everybody on the team since the day one. So I may know things about a specific way that this person works or a bias that they have that you may not know about. So I can inform you about that. And now we can make a better decision. So it's not about like, I'm going to review that engineer's PR. It's more like I'm in the room discussing what should be the plan for this week.
So you're helping with weekly planning still, correct? And you still think that's important for founders to do, and that would fall under your guys' definition of quote unquote micromanaging. Like what does like it actually mean on like the day-to-day to be involved at that level?
Yeah, I think one thing is setting the expectation with the middle level manager that sometimes you're gonna go around this other person and talk to the person that reports to them. And that is not a reflection of you're doing a poor job or like I'm going around you to like tell secrets and gossip about you. It's really, I want to understand what they're doing. I want them to feel like they have a direct line of communication to me and tell me what's truly on their mind, another person to just talk to. And I think that's one thing I'd be doing. And I want to make like my head of engineering feel like this is normal and this is not a reflection of your performance.
Yeah, I think there's examples of this in practice at other like large companies. I'm actually thinking now at Paulton Networks, our CEO, he actually used to do this thing where he would meet with random employees, like just random employees. They just pick like their number, their badge number, and he would just meet with them every single week or every month or something, just 5 of them, and they talk for like hours. And it was like, if you got selected, you were just gonna go meet with him, and he would just talk to them about random stuff. And I was always like, why is this guy meeting with random employees? Like, I hope I get picked. I want to talk to him. But now I realize, I'm pretty sure he was just like doing exactly what you're saying, just like picking because like Paulton Networks is such a big company. He was just picking random people to talk with and just see like, what are these people doing? And like, if he noticed something was wrong or something was amiss or like whatever, he would be able to like go up and approach, the managers or the VPs. And then also, I think he just understand what everybody's doing. Like, there's 2 benefits to that. I think Elon Musk does this as well. Like at Tesla, he used to walk the factory floors because like for Elon Musk, it came out of like, there's some issue with like the production of Teslas right now. Cause I know people were complaining about like very cheap build. So he'd go and he'd walk the floor and he'd just like, look, and he'd be like, because I'm the founder, I'm the only one who cares the most about Tesla and the car being manufactured. So I will notice things that nobody else noticed. And he did, even though he had nowhere near as much expertise as the manufacturing workers or like the designers. He noticed things and he's like, why is this being done this way? And he would like ask and they just fix it, right? I think to that point, like from my side, like customer success and customer support, there's definitely holes and leaks there. And, I have people doing a decent job, but I don't actually understand, and no one knows what those leaks and things are. And I don't have a head of customer success right now to do that for me. So my founder mode is like, let me go in, and what I'm doing right now is I'm auditing like as many customer support inquiries and how they're dealt with. And that leads into engineering as well as possible, right? And I'm finding a lot of stuff where I'm like, as a founder, I would do this very differently. And it's not the fault of my team that they're not doing it the way I want them to do it, because I've never told them to do it that way. So the way I'm seeing it is like, I need to go in, I need to set expectations and do the SOPs and give them the SOPs on how I think that they should react to this inquiry, right, of this type. And if they don't agree with me, then we can have a conversation about it. But that's just what I need to do now, and that's what I'm doing.
So I think a lot of times founders misdiagnose the problems where they need to get in the weeds and provide feedback and solve, versus the ones that are really the biggest, most essential ones that the founders should be working on. Do you guys between yourselves have any framework that you use to not stay in the weeds all the time and still stay big enough picture to do more of the vision and goal setting there?
When you say founders usually misdiagnose,
Sometimes misdiagnose, like where it's just like, I'll give you an example, right? Sometimes founders will go and write the SOP on how a linear ticket should be created or something like that, right? Or every single status, the process which they're updated, like every single aspect of like how this is done. And I'd argue that's probably not the biggest problem in the company, right? That's probably something that can be delegated or handled by someone else, right?
Yeah.
You guys should be using your time in the most high leverage optimized way possible with your skill set that no one else has, right? So where do you think founders get it wrong? Where like sometimes they're working on problems that are too small and too in the weeds that they shouldn't do, but they're thinking, I'm in founder mode, I'm gonna go do this and no one else can do this except for me.
Yeah, that's a great example. I think I was almost about to do that too.
Called out.
Yeah. I think it's more about, can I be more of a reviewer on this? And if I ask myself that and the answer is yes, then I won't do it. Like if I feel like, so let's take a different thing, right? Like forming the org chart and what each person should do, nobody can do that. Like nobody can even come up with something that I feel like it's worth my time reviewing. So that's something when I do it myself. But like, if I feel like my head of engineering can come up to me with a linear ticket resolution process and I can just review it, saves me time. And second, gives him ownership. And you're going to be the person executing this process every day. So why don't you come up with it yourself, feel like you made it, and then you're the one like executing on it and making changes to it every day. You should be the one to make it too. And I'm just like a sounding board to you. So it's more like I need to only work on stuff that I can do, but the founder mode part comes in where I still want to review the things that you come up with.
It's a little bit different than Bora's approach, where Bora is like, I want to get all the way down into the nitty gritty details of the support ticket, why it happened and why it continues to happen, right? Is there any reason why you guys have such a difference in your approaches when it comes to being involved in the day-to-day of the company?
I think for my side, I don't really have another option. I don't really have a choice, because my other choice would be to have you do that. But I think you are already busy on other parts of the company, right? Like there's no, or what I can do is I can hire a head of customer success that would do that, right? And deliver the report to me. Cause then I could say, hey, like, first of all, your question, like properly diagnose the problem based off the report the head of customer success gives me. I can see, oh, is there like an increase in churn? Is there like a decrease in LTV? Like these kinds of metrics. And I can say, oh, if there is, let's go dive deeper into that and see what's going on, right? But I don't have that person in place right now. The people I have in place, that's not their expertise. Like they're actually the ones that are doing the work that I'm auditing and I'm finding that needs to be improved upon. So I would say, because I don't have someone like the head of engineering that Jerry has, and because I don't want to spend let's say 2 to 3 months to find someone like that, I need to solve this problem now. That's why my approach is the approach it is. I think if I had a head of customer success, I would have that report. I'd have them go do it. And if I don't see an improvement, then I would go and do this, right? But I don't really have that option right now.
So the delineation is having a senior hire versus not having a senior hire, correct?
I'd say so, probably because like then you can delegate versus like I don't really have anybody to delegate to right now.
Actually, yeah, that brings me up. Like, I have a question for you, which is like, how do you know when is the time to hire that senior person? Because earlier we were discussing, you should know the job to be done, so you know how to vet, so you know like if they're doing a good job. When is a good time to get that senior hire?
When is a good time? I think it's a good question. I don't actually know what is the optimal time to bring in a head of customer success. I think as fast as possible would be my answer.
Now it is.
Yeah, like now it is.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. I think this kind of relates to the topic we were discussing the other day, where we should always be looking for and hiring good talent. Like especially if we don't have, like if we look at other companies and all the roles that every single company has, which is like head of customer success, head of marketing, head of go-to-market, head of sales, like we don't have a majority of those roles. So probably I should start to hire for those roles as much as possible. For head of customer success, I think we have had customer success and support needs for a long time, and I've just been doing it myself.
Zero trust.
Yeah, I guess zero trust has been a reason for that. But I mean, we tried. Like we flew. Like we've been trying to hire for this position, and I think we believe as Reacher, as a company, that we need to hire the best talent and retain the best talent. And we had found someone that we did believe would fit that role, and we interviewed her a bunch, and like it just didn't work out. So I think we've been looking. I just haven't come across anybody that has been to that caliber. And I don't think we want to invest time and waste time and money on someone who is just going to come in temporarily and patchwork, right? So I think I could probably just do a better job of looking for that head of CS that, is as good as the person that we interviewed last time.
I agree. I think that's like a fundamental shift I've had recently, where founders' two jobs is to set the vision and then hire people to execute that vision. I think on my side as well, like took a very, very long time to find a head of engineering, and probably all comes down to me not putting enough effort. You're like, engineers are not going to find the head. It's on you. And I think we need to, like, as founders, like you actually need to spend a good chunk of your time sourcing and interviewing. And I think recently we started a Slack channel called like Hires. Yeah. And actually, I don't even think that's a good name for the channel. It's more be just like talent or like good people. You gotta think that, just good. You know why? Because like, why do we not have a head of customer success? Because when we need it, we then go source candidates. But if you're always looking for people that are good and you save them in a Slack channel, you even interview them when you don't need it. You've built out that relationship that then now you're like, it's like a warm lead almost before hiring. And so maybe me, I'll go hire like a product manager, I don't know, head of product. Yeah. It's like very, very early to do. But I should build that relationship, have my little CRM of people that I want to hit up when the time comes.
CRM. What was it, Sequoia?
Yeah, Sequoia. Yeah, they have an internal CRM that judges your company's talent. And if like you have good engineering and probably all talent, it's a good indicator for investing in you, which I think is great. Like we should probably have this at Reacher. Yeah. Just anybody you've seen good on LinkedIn or like talk to at a conference, they may not be looking for a job. You may not be even looking, but save that because I think you'll need to use it.
What's the balance between understanding enough of what you're hiring for versus just going and finding good talent? How would you even know they're good talent if you don't know anything about, let's say it was you hiring the head of customer success. Yeah. And you have no experience putting together CS systems and leading CS orgs. How would you know what a good customer success candidate even looks like?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. I mean, how do we know you were good?
Because you did sales since you were a kid selling, what was it, Elmer's Glue Igloos. But you marketed Reacher.
We saw you on a market. I actually didn't know you were good at sales.
Well, there was a lot of positive signal for me. I was an obvious hire because I was essentially like, I mean, it was obviously. I mean, there's two aspects of it, right? Where it's like you find, like as Naval would say, right? You'd find talent that no one knows about, right? Like unknown talent with huge potential and upside, versus like talent where the market knows, like this person, like I'm pretty sure I fit your role description for like head of go-to-market if you were to make one, where it's just like, can you talk about the company? Does he understand the ecosystem, business founders? Does he know how to do sales? Like and I did it at the exact replica of Reacher's competitor. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like, I would say like the market sort of knew that I was the hire, right? And you didn't really have to do as much due diligence there. But if
Yeah.
you know, let's say we were hiring a head of community. How it would you have to spend 2 months learning about community management, or would you just be like, I understand enough what good talent is, and I can collect this hire the same as I can collect a head of product? Or something
Yeah,
like that, you know?
I don't actually think I would have to learn how to build a community myself for like months and months. I mean, I just interviewed Jasper, that co-founder of Social Army, and he had zero creator, like TikTok shop creator community management, but he went and hired like the best creator community managers out there, and they grew their company to like #1 creator community, right? I think to your point, it's like being out in the wild, maybe joining other creator communities. Like probably the best talent is already hired happily somewhere, as you were, right? So I think it's identifying, like going to these companies where we think are similar to us or might have talent that we also are looking for, such as our competitor where we got you from. You could do that via just like general knowledge of the industry. You could do that via like ChatGPT or Gemini, search up like what are companies that do X, Y, and Z. And I think it's like we can actually see them working in practice probably. Like you can go and like join a creator community, for example, and see like how is this person interacting with the creators? What is the engagement like? Things like that, right? Metrics that you measure. And then if those all look good, then probably just like to Jerry's point, start talking to them, just like start to build a relationship. And then I think then it's a matter of like asking a lot of questions and interviewing well, and then figuring out if this person is actually what you're looking for in terms of culture fit and things like that.
So you'd look at their past and present work and then use that as a leading indicator that you should interview them.
Probably. And assuming like a majority of good people are already hired at some job, maybe they're not happy with their current situation and they're ready to make a leave like you were, right? So you never know, right? You never know. It's like you miss all the shots you don't take. So
Anything to add there? You agree?
No, I actually have a thought on my, or like a question. Is there a case to be made against you have to do the work before hiring, or doing just enough, and because of hitting deadlines or wanting to accelerate growth, that you hire someone in when you're not the full expert on the topic yet?
How do you verify success?
The metrics, the goals you're going for, maybe it's like, here are the goals you need to achieve. How, like if you hire this person, are they making some tangible movement towards that goal, I guess, or these goals, like increasing LTV and decreasing churn, for example, right, of customer success, right? I think probably like all of us are smart enough to understand if we have those goals in mind, if someone is able to put together a plan, or if they do that in their current job and then hire accordingly, I'd assume.
Yeah, that's a question I have on my mind, because I think there's probably nothing in building a startup that follows one rule every single time.
Yeah. Everybody has a different
That's
opinion.
my intuition on things.
What does that mean?
Like, it's not like you should always do the job for 3 months before hiring. I don't think every project or every initiative that the company wants to start has the luxury of the founder doing that for 3 months. I think for some new initiatives that we talked about, yes, but I want to see if there can be an 80-20 there. There can be, like Boris said, if we want to start a project, we know the metrics that we want to hit, and we evaluate whether your plan can hit those metrics, and we just look at the metrics to know if you're vetting for success, right? So I think, as we want to build a company that really values moving fast, hiring fast, placing people into the right role and making progress. And when we grow into a multi-product, multi-region business, like even the example of expanding to regions, like let's say we want to do another country. Does that mean Bora has to go live in that country for 3 months, learn the language?
Yeah.
Or do we hire
Germany.
someone that's
Learn British.
Brazil.
learn British?
English.
Yeah.
Top of the morning.
Yeah. So I personally believe that there is a case to be made where you don't have to learn the damn thing every time. Yeah.
Interesting.
The damn thing.
All right. Well, any top talent listening that wants to work at Reacher, feel free to message Bora and Jerry directly on their LinkedIns and ask for a job.
I have way too many people asking me for a job at all times, dude. You can message Sohan Sanka, Vendel Commerce, TikTok shop.
Yeah, message
Instead.
me.
Sohan SLP Sanka at reachrap.com.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for everyone listening in. Hope you found the discussion insightful and appreciate your time.
Thank you all for coming.